Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all. Myself, Dr. K. Jayakumar, Assistant Professor and Head of PG Department of Botany, Sri Vidyadiraj NSS College. My duty is to welcome the Chief Guest and all the participants to the international webinar on significance of tropical rainforest in an era of climate change, organized by PG Department of Botany in association with IQAC, Sri Vidyadiraj NSS College. First, I would welcome the President of this webinar, Dr. M.R. Rendaga, respected Principal of Sri Vidyadiraj NSS College, Vazhoor. I extend sincere thanks for providing us all kinds of timely support and creative suggestions in materializing this webinar. So I welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of my own self and on behalf of all the participants gathered here.
Okay.
Now I welcome the Chief Guest, the resource person of today's program, Mr. Thomas Kalathil Varghese, research scholar, Animal Ecology and Tropical Biology Biocenter-Am Hubland, University of Wurzburg, Germany. His basic area of interest lies in tropical forest ecology, and he is pursuing his PhD in how elevation and slope influence vegetation structure and diversity. He has several international publications in his credit. As part of his PhD studies, he has conducted vegetation surveys across various elevation zones of Western Ghats, India. He has also worked as Junior Research Fellow in different projects funded by DBT, DST, and ISRO at various institutes like KFRI, Botanical Survey of India. He was associated with some major national projects in India like National Carbon Project, Assessment of Vegetation Carbon Pools, Phase 2, and Quantification and Mapping of Plant Bioresources of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. We are extremely happy, and it is a prestigious moment for Department of Botany as well as Sri Vidyadiraj NSS College for having you as the Chief Guest and resource person for today's program. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of my own self and on behalf of Department of Botany, IQAC, and on behalf of all the participants gathered here.
Thank you so much.
Now I welcome the technical support team members, Sri Babin B, Assistant Professor of Mathematics, Srimati Ramya S. Nair, Assistant Professor of Physics. Thank you so much for taking up the charge of technical session. I welcome both of you. Now I welcome my colleagues, Srimati Sudhi CC, who took the initiative for this program, Dr. Prita Pillai, and Dr. Rajesh MG, who did all the background work in materializing this webinar. I welcome all of you. Now I welcome all the faculties from various departments of Vidyadiraj NSS College. I welcome faculties, research scholars, students from various colleges from Kerala and from other states of India. I welcome Sevi Roy, final year UG student, who did all the design work. And finally, I welcome my dear students to this webinar. Once again, I welcome one and all to this international webinar. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I welcome our respected principal, Dr. M.R. Rendaga, to deliver the presidential address.
Thank you, Jayakumar. Good afternoon. Respected resource person, Mr. Thomas Kalathil Varghese, my colleagues from Botany department and other departments, all the participants from various other institutions, research scholars, and dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to participate in this international webinar on significance of tropical rainforests in an era of climate change. The third international webinar from the college and second one from Department of Botany. PG Department of Botany is doing very well in both academic and non-academic initiatives, which give their students a very good motivation. They are planning and organizing a number of activities, which include eco-friendly activities, green campus initiatives, some programs for beautifying the campus, some programs which give with an eye on biodiversity concerns, and so on. I congratulate PG Department of Botany for all these initiatives and excellent teamwork in materializing all this. Now I take this opportunity to thank Mr. Thomas Kalathil Varghese for accepting our invitation. I feel that besides getting in-depth awareness on the topic, on today's topics, our students will be motivated that they know about such an internationally reputed university, and let them realize that they can also achieve such heights if they work hard. I feel that this is an opportunity for our students to interact with such an expert from the field, and such a personality who is having a vast experience in the field. Once again, I extend our hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I may not take much of your time. As we all know, tropical rainforests are the lungs of the planet. Let us have some detailed aspects about that. I wish all the success for this webinar, and I wish all the participants a very fruitful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I welcome the chief guest and resource person, Mr. Thomas Kalathil Varghese, for the presentation. Please, sir.
So thank you for your warm words. I hope I'm audible. Okay, so
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Yeah, okay. I'm Thomas K. Varghese. I'm right now working as a research scholar in University of Wurzburg at Department of Tropical Biology and Animal Ecology. So today I would like to share some experience which I had as part of my tropical forest research, as well as an overall overview about tropical rainforest. Okay, so first of all, I would like to just give an introduction. What is a tropical rainforest? So basically, they are forest areas which are located between the latitudes of 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degree south. That is Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, as we call the tropics. So that they are basically on either side of the equator, which gives it an additional advantage of extra more rainfall and higher temperature. So the average daily temperature will be usually around 20 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius in tropical rainforest. And the humidity, because of this high temperature, the humidity will also be very high. It will be around 77 and 88% in an average. Very high rainfall. The tropical rainforests receive very high rainfall throughout the year. It is a minimum, or maybe the minimum goes to up to 150 centimeter to up to 1,000 or even above in places very near to equator, like in Amazon forest. One typical exception is they are frost free because of this high temperature. They they don't have much frost occurrence except for the a very specific type of forest called as tropical montane forest. So that is what we call as tropical rainforest. So this is the geographical distribution of tropical rainforest. So as you can see in the green, the areas marked in the green, they are the areas of tropical rainforest on either side of the equator. So you have got on the left side, you have got the Amazon basin, Amazon forest in South America. And then in Africa, we have got on the Congo basin tropical rainforest. Then in India, we got Western Ghats. Then in Southeast Asia, in the countries of Malaysia, Indonesia, or there are like a ring of tropical rainforest. So it's all located on either side of the equator. Okay. So just to give an awareness, what does a tropical rainforest look like? So this is what they call a structure of a tropical rainforest. So as you can see in the picture, this picture was actually taken in Andaman Nicobar Islands. So you can easily note the different levels in this picture. That's why I just put up this picture itself. At the top level, at the topmost layer is called as the emergent layer. So that is actually there are like very few trees out on that layer, and it's sparsely populated, and it goes up to a height of 60 meters. The trees in that layer, and there are very less trees actually. So in this picture, the topmost regions are known as, I don't know if it is very clear from you are able to delineate between the canopy layer and emergent layer, because it's not that visible, the emergent layer, but still the topmost region is known as the emergent layer. Where the trees are very sparse, but the height they have got extraordinary heights. This is actually a virgin forest. Virgin forest means the forests which are not which were never disturbed. There was no human settlement. This is actually Andaman Nicobar Island. So this is actually an island called as Little Andaman. It is in the Bay of Bengal. And it is an undisturbed island. So that's why this typical structure of tropical rainforest is very much visible. So the second layer is called the canopy layer. The canopy layer is the thickest layer of tropical rainforest. As you can see, the region below the canopy layer is very dark. So because of the thick layer, the light cannot come down. And the canopy layer is like very diverse with all other kinds of animals like monkeys and all those kind of animals. And also bird habitat is also, canopy layer is a typical bird habitat. So yeah, so the second layer is what we call as the canopy layer, and the third layer is called the understory layer. So just below, right below the canopy layer, we have got understory layer. That layer consists of small trees as well as shrubs, but they are not that densely populated because of the limited light conditions. They are not that densely populated, and the tree size will also be very small. This canopy layer trees are the largest trees, and they are very dense. The DBH of the tree is very, very high. I mean, the DBH means depth at breast height. So we take the measurement of the tree. Actually, when we do the vegetation survey, we go around the tree using a tape. We measure the radius, the diameter of the tree. So that's what we call diameter at breast height. We do it at around 120 centimeter height. We take the diameter of the tree. So the DBH of the trees in canopy layer is very, very high, and also it is very densely populated. But in the understory layer, the trees are very thin, and the height is very less. It goes up to a height of like 8 meter. Typical shrubs are there, small trees are there, but in the canopy layer, the height will be up to 25 meter or 30 meter, or even more, 40 meter maybe. And in the topmost layer, what we call as emergent layer, the height actually we can't measure the height. It may be more than 60 meter or something, but it is very less. The number of trees in the emergent layer is very less. So these are the three layers. Then there is one more layer, but it's not visible here. So we go to the next slide. So this is the last layer, which is called as understory layer. So as you can see, it comes at here also light is not. They don't have not very much light, and it is mostly these layer mostly consist of bamboo species or caryota species or um, herbs like species. And as you can see, there are a lot of litter on this layer. That is a very typical specialty of this layer. In the understory layer, there will be a lot of litter. Litter means dried leaves. The soil contains a lot of litter. So this is what we call as the understory layer. So this is what we call the structure of a typical tropical rainforest. So then we go, what are the types of tropical rainforest? The tropical forest is itself divided into very different types. That's an entirely different classification. But the tropical rainforest is typically divided into three types. The first one is the equatorial evergreen forest. So these forests usually occur very near to the 0 degree or the equator line. The typical example of equatorial evergreen forest is Amazon forest. As we all know about there was a recent Amazon fire and all those issues. So the typical equatorial evergreen forest is Amazon forest. So they are very near to equator. Because of that, they receive much higher rainfall, and they are mostly consist of evergreen trees, or rather they usually consist of only evergreen trees. So that's what we call as equatorial evergreen forest. The second type is the tropical moist forest. That is moist. That classic. The name is a bit confusing. It is always used like intermittently with tropical moist forest or tropical rainforest also. But the tropical moist forest is actually forests which occur far away from the equator, but still inside the Tropic of Capricorn and Tropic of Cancer line. So they may have receive higher rainfall during some seasons. They may not, but there might be some dry seasons also. So they have the typical characteristics is like they have got a mixed kind of vegetation. They might have deciduous. They might have deciduous trees, and also they might have tropical evergreen trees. So deciduous trees are the ones which are seasonal, which shed their leaves seasonally, while the other one sheds the leaves throughout the year. So, the tropical moist forest is a mixture of all these type of forests. And what we have in India, in Western Ghats, it's a typical tropical moist forest. It's actually called as tropical monsoon forest also. What we have in Malaysia or like far regions from the equator, that's what we call as tropical moist forest. Then the third type is called tropical. So these equatorial forest and tropical moist forest, the characteristics are almost the same, except for the reason that there might be some mixed deciduous trees in that, as well as the rain might be a bit higher. The third type, the tropical montane rainforest, is very, very unique type of forest. So here you can see the tropical rainforest. It is also called as cloud forest. So why it is called as cloud forest? Because it is usually seen at very high elevations. Or if you go up a mountain, by saying very high elevation doesn't mean that above 2000 meter or 2500 meter, it just means that the top peak of a mountain, if a mountain is up to 500 meter or 450 meter height, then the forest, which containing the area around above 400 meter or something, can become a cloud forest. This type of forest I have seen in Andaman and Nicobar Islands also, as well as in Western Ghats, but this is a very rare kind of forest. The typical feature is it is having a very cold climate, unlike the lower elevation tropical rainforest. These forests are very cold climate, as well as the trees are have got very stunted growth. That means the DBH will be very small. The width of the trunk is very small, as well as the height is very small. The height won't go up to like 15 meters or 20 meters, or even not till there. Mostly on an average, the height of the trees are in cloud forest will be around 10 meter or 11 meter. And the typical feature, as you can recognize in that photograph, the presence of moss and lichens, because of this cold climate, and because of the presence of fog, or what we call as a damp climate, there will be presence of lichens throughout the year on the trees. Even during this photograph was actually taken during the month of March, which is summer. It's actually taken in Western Ghats. It's the topmost point of Munnar area. So as you can see in the photograph, even during the summer, there is presence of lichens and mosses on the bark of the tree. So that is what we call as tropical. This is the very rare type of forest, and it is seen throughout the world, but it's still, the area of the forest will be very less. In Western Ghats, we have it in the topmost point in Munnar, as well as in Trivandrum, also in Agasthyarkudam Hills. At the topmost point, we have a very little bit our left of this forest left, because in Munnar area, it's like almost all of this forest is right now converted to tea plantations. So that is what we call as tropical montane rainforest. So next is, how significant are tropical rainforests? That is a question. So the first one is like how significant it is for the climate. What happens if there is no tropical rainforest? So for that, we have a very typical concept called as evapotranspiration. It is simply the evaporation as well as transpiration counted together. So in a tropical rainforest, there will be a lot of the density of trees is very high, as you all know. So when the rain comes, the rain first falls on the canopy layer. So there will be thick layer of leaves on the canopy layer. It falls on the leaves. Some amount of water will be settled on the canopy layer. The rest amount will fall down to the through the bark to the soil. So then what happens? It goes down the soil. It will be absorbed by the roots, the deep roots of the tropical rainforest, and it will again go up, and it will undergo transpiration. At the same time, the leaves, the water present on the leaves, it will go ahead with evaporation. So the sum up of evaporation and transpiration in a tropical rainforest is what we call as evapotranspiration. So this total together, the evaporation and transpiration takes place, and it releases a lot of moisture to the atmosphere above the canopy. So what happens is, because of this lot of moisture, there are a lot of heat is generated. This again causes formation of clouds, and the rain happens again. So this cycle is completed. This cycle is continuous. So this is how the rainfall is. The tropical rainforest influences the rainfall in that same region. So if there is forest deforestation or less forest degradation in an area of a tropical rainforest, then there will be less evapotranspiration, which in turn affects the rainfall, that which in turn affects the climate of the region. There will be long droughts or long spells of droughts, long summer season. That's what happened 2 years before in Western Ghats when we had a long spell of summer. So there is a study which was conducted in 2011, so which says this cycle, the rainfall which falls down, with a minimum 30 to 19, up to 19%, 90% of the rainfall is regenerated to the atmosphere. This is how um, the rainforest maintains the climate, the rainfall of the region. So that is an important point, important significance of tropical rainforest, evapotranspiration. So the second one is carbon sequestration. So you might have known about carbon sequestration. It is just the amount of carbon captured by the tropical rainforest or the trees of the tropical rainforest and transformed into the carbon sink. So there is always a source and a sink. So the tree is the carbon sink, and carbon dioxide, the atmospheric carbon dioxide, is the carbon source. So when there is, the basis of climate change is always based on carbon dioxide content of the atmosphere. So when there is more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, what happens is the atmosphere gets heated up. When there is more moisture, as well as the atmosphere gets heated up, this in turn causes global warming, which in turn causes what we all know, the melting of ice and associated problems like water, rising of water level in the sea, so the associated problems. So what the tropical rainforest does is, it's a usual stuff. The trees, they capture the carbon dioxide as part of photosynthesis, and they capture it and store it as carbon sink. In another sense, we could call it as biomass also. So if there is more biomass in the soil or in the form of carbon in the tropical rainforest, that means the climate is under control, because there is less amount of carbon dioxide as well as other greenhouse gas emissions on the atmosphere. So that is an important way in which the tropical rainforest maintain the climate, the temperature. First was the rainfall, this is like the temperature. So if there is deforestation, then there is less carbon sequestration, and this leads to climate change and other associated effects. So even regarding that, there was a study conducted. There was a big study conducted. That was one of the recent one. I'm giving the paper, the citation in the bottom. And that was conducted recently published in Nature 2020. So there's a big group of 100 institutions compiled the data of carbon uptake from different tropical rainforests across the world, and they found that the carbon sink, or the carbon amount of carbon sequestered, is already coming to an alarming rate. So how they study is they convert it into biomass. So there are different methods to calculate carbon sequestration. The amount of, it's basically the amount of carbon, how much carbon is there, or the carbon sequestration can be converted into biomass. So if we go to field and all, usually what we do is we take the dph depth at breast height. As I already said, that at 120 centimeter above ground, we just measure the diameter of the trunk of a tree, each tree, and then what we do is the height of the tree. The height of the tree is usually calculated using an instrument known as hypsometer. So that is actually a works based on ultraviolet radiations. So hypsometer, or it is called as a rangefinder. So we calculate the height using rangefinder or hypsometer. So we stand below the tree or at a few distance far from the tree, and we just click a button and towards the top canopy of the tree, each tree, and it just sends back the signal, and the height will be automatically recorded in that machine. It's known as hypsometer or rangefinder, canopy rangefinder. Again, we measure using a tape the dBH, and using these two parameters, we can calculate the carbon as a whole. So actually we're calculating the biomass of each tree, and so actually when we are doing a survey, we can't, it's impossible for us to go to a forest, like for example, if we go to Western Ghats in Idiki region, we can't just survey the whole plot like that, whole area like that. So what we do is we select represented plots at different regions representing different type of forest, different type of habitats, different whether it is a different type of whether it is kind of degraded forest or non, it is a virgin forest. So from each of these groups, we select some areas and we establish plots there. So these plots are like, there are different methodologies for that. Like we use 20 by 20 meter plot, or I mean, we establish a 20 by 20 meter square plots, or it can be 50 by 50 meter. But usually for the trees, we establish 50 by 50. In my study, I established 50 by 50 meter plots because it gives much more inclusion of much more species. Because if you go for 20 by 20 meter plot, because of the high diversity of the tropical area, there is a chance that we miss the rare species. So I usually go for 50 by 50 meter. We can go for 20 by 20 meter plots also. So inside each plot, we measure the number of, we just identify the trees, we identify the species, we calculate the height of each tree using the hypsometer. We calculate the dBH, the depth at breast height using a tape. Then there are a lot of parameters we can calculate. The canopy cover, as we have seen the canopy earlier. So the canopy cover is a measure. If you are able to calculate canopy cover, it's actually a measure of the amount of light reaching the canopy or reaching the plot. The total amount of what you call a solar radiation or something, because the canopy is, itself is very thick, and the measure of the canopy in turn can be converted into the amount of light which is available to that region or that plot. So all these parameters we take, then we calculate out of this using the height and dBH, we calculate the biomass. So there is always a biomass equation for that, and we just convert it. So that's how the biomass of the plot, the tree is converted, calculated. The biomass of the then it is converted into biomass of the plot as a whole, then biomass of the whole region. I mean, maybe a habitat like deciduous region or evergreen region, broadleaf region, like a different habitats. How much as a whole? How many habitats are there? We calculate as a whole the biomass of the area, and we use it for further calculation. So that's how we take up this calculate the carbon sequestration or biomass of an area. So that is so this carbon sink is one of the most important factor in tropical rainforest with regard to climate change, as well as all. We study this for all studies of tropical rainforest. Yeah. Okay. So next. One more, this is actually a very recent topic. We have a lot of disasters coming up in Western Ghats recently, so this one is also, we find it very important. So the landslides. So the tropical landslides. So the tropical landslides are not what we call as the other. It's never related to the seismic landslides or what we call as the earthquake. So Tropical landscapes are actually caused whenever there is a deforestation. When a tree is removed from an area, the topmost soil erode. That is what we call as surface erosion. So when the topmost soil is loose, then when there is a rainfall, when there is a sudden rainfall, like what happened, what is happening over the last 3 years in Kerala. When there is a sudden rainfall, what happens? The topsoil is already loose, so it just causes a movement, and it just causes rapid landslide. So that is where the deforestation plays a role in landslide. So this usually happens in steep slopes, that is what happening in Kerala in Western Ghats also. Usually on the steep slopes, usually the steep slopes are what we calculate. I think above 15 degree of slope. If a region in a tropical rainforest is above 15 degree, has got a slope of 15 degrees centigrade, then it is considered as a steep slope. So in these regions, actually, we have more risk of landslides. So above this, if there is deforestation, that is removing of trees, then it causes more landslides, like heavier when there is a heavy single, as I already explained, when there is a single event of heavy rainfall, it triggers a landslide and it causes disaster. So how the stop when there is a tropical rainforestry, how it mitigation means how it overcomes the situation of landslide because of the deep roots of the trees. That's a typical feature of tropical rainforest, which the roots can go very deep into the soil, even up to, there are trees which go with roots which goes up to 1 kilometer in tropical rainforest. So these deep roots, it acts as anchors and provides soil a particular stability. So because these there is a main root called the taproot, then there are sub-root systems, there are series of below sub-root systems which gives a stability to the soil. So this is how it maintains the soil stability and avoid landslides or any other kind of disasters. Also, when there is a heavy rainfall, even if there is a heavy rainfall in a tropical rainforest, what happens is the water very easily drains through the soil because the root system, because of this deep root system, there are small there will always be a space between the roots and the soil. So the water is able to go very deep, easily drain within, when there is a heavy rainfall in a tropical rainforest, within 1 hour or 2 hours, the whole water will be drained into the soil. If there is no deforestation and if there are proper number of trees. The water just infiltrates and this reduces the landslide risk. This is how this is one way. These are the two ways in which the tropical rainforest mitigates the landslides or other kinds of disaster. Also, regarding the because of the high amount of rainfall in tropical rainforest, the soil will always be more moist, and also because of the less canopy. Because of the thick canopy, there won't be much light coming down the understory. So what happens? It will be always damp and moist. The soil will always be damp and moist. So this gives soil a greater soil cohesion. That means the soil particles can easily bind each other when soil is more moist, and this is also another factor by which the tropical rainforest reduce the landslides. So next one is forest fire mitigation. So the forest fire, everybody has already heard about the forest fire in Amazon forest. But are there actually natural fires happening in tropical forests? The answer is usually no. The forest fires, the natural fire forest, the tropical rainforest never catches natural fires. It's because just for the basic reason that it is uh, mm, it has got very high rainfall and it has got very high moisture content. Even if there is a very high rain, even if there is a chance of fire, it won't extend to the after a limit because of the moist atmosphere down the canopy. So the most of the natural, I mean the forest fires caused in tropical rainforest are either man-made or due to some other factors. Almost 90% is actually man-made. So man-made for forest fires happen, and maybe that's what happened in last year in Amazon forest. There was actually a bit of man-made forest, and this was already there was a drought there. Along with that, there was a prolonged drought, and there was a very dry weather, and very without any rainfall for a very prolonged time. That is actually rarest of rarest case, and it got fire. Otherwise, in natural habitat of a tropical rainforest never catches fire. The studies actually states like in a normal tropical rainforest, the frequency of natural cycles, fire cycles, happens maybe in years of thousands, maybe in years of thousands. So because of that's basically because of the reason that the high moisture present in the closed canopy forest. So this limits the spread of fire. Even if there is a fire, because of this moisture content, it can go far on far limit. But recently, especially in Western Ghats, while I was like last March, I was doing my field work in 2019. There was a series of fires happening, and so I was also witnessing fire because that was all actually man-made fire. The weather is already, the climate was already dry. Above that, there was a man-made fire. Then there is like the recently the problem of forest fragmentation is there in Western Ghats areas, and especially in Idiki areas. The forest is highly fragmented with in between forestry, agroforestry plantations or tea plantations. So because of that reason, there are possibilities of fire happening. So because of that, there are risks for tropical rainforest to catch fire. Otherwise, in normal case, in natural tropical rainforest, the rainforest itself mitigates the forest fire. So next is the ecological significance. So this is actually everybody might be knowing it. The tropical rainforest is very diverse. It has got like the largest number of species. You can find any number of species. If you are surveying a tropical rainforest, the number of species just keep on increasing at any point of time. So earlier I was saying about the 50-meter plots I was establishing. So the more the number of plots we establish, this keeps on more the number of species we get, especially tree species. Just so that is the peculiar character of tropical rainforest. So that's what is 80% of the world's documented species are found in rainforest. So other than tropical rainforest, we have got temperate forest. So tropical, you might be already knowing there are like two types of forest, like tropical forest and major types of forest, like tropical forest and temperate forest. Temperate forest is seen above like above to 23.5 degrees north and south till 66 and a half, maybe till there. So they are characterized by the cold climate. So here in Germany, we have got temperate forest. But the typical characteristics is the very less diverse. There are very, if you go for a typical survey in a top temperate forest here in Germany or anywhere in Europe, you get maybe two or three species, or maybe four species. That's if you take a 50-meter plot, you are lucky if you get 3 or 4 species. But if you survey a tropical rainforest at the same time, even if it is a fragmented forest like what we have in Western Ghats, we used to get at least 17 to 18 species. 17 to 18, 3 species alone. Then we have got other shrub species, also herb species, a lot of species will do, but basic 3 species alone we'll get at least 18. If you survey even if you survey a 20 meter by 20 meter plot, you will get at least 17 to 18 species. So that is the significance. So this the tropical rainforest maintains diversity of the universe. That's what we say. So even if the area of tropics, the area under forest in tropics is going on down. So this, as I have already written here, it's just 6% of total land surface. Is only 6% of total land surface is a tropical rainforest, but that accounts for 80% of world's documented species. So that is the significance. Then another important aspect is the presence of large number of endemic and rare species. So it is because it's very diverse and very much geographically isolated, because right from 0-degree equator till 23.5, it's a very vast region. So it is highly diverse, and the same species, it keeps on again evolving into new species. Even inside Western Ghats, we have got even inside Western Ghats, if you go from Idiki region to Trivandrum, we can find like same genus and new different species. So that much diversity is there. So it maintains the presence of large number of endemic species. Endemic species means the species which are geographically restricted to a particular area, and also rare species. So rare species are the rare species are very important in ecology analysis. When we do ecological analysis, we take out the rare species separately and give separate weightage to the rare species for the analysis, because if we leave out the rare species, then rare species just means in an area, if if you are surveying 20 plots or 30 plots, and in all together that plot, the presence of that one species is just the number of individuals of one species is just 2 or 3, then we call it a rare species. So but that accounts for the overall diversity of the region. So we always take into account, we give a special weightage in statistical analysis for the rare species. Also for the endemic species is what we like in Western Ghats, we have got for example the Mangifera indica, the usual mango, but just in Bay of Bengal, just I don't know, 1,000 kilometers, 500 kilometers, I heard in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, we have got the same mango species, Mangifera and the manicum. So it's 80% of the morphology is almost same, but still it is different. So that much diverse is Western tropical rainforest. But right now, this tropical rainforest is under heavy pressure of fragmentation because of this, especially if you take Western Ghats, because of the plantations, because of the settlements, especially in Idiki district. Everybody knows about the settlement issues in Idiki district. It's getting highly fragmented. Then the forest land is getting converted into plantations. Then the land use change, because the border areas of the forest might be, even the forest department itself is changing the uh, some of the forest areas into plantations. Earlier they used to do it, now they have stopped it. But still, what is done is done. So it is impacting the, it has got a lot of impact on the ecology. So, that is all about the ecological significance. Then this is like a human health impacts. So this is a very different aspect of tropical rainforest. So how the human health, because we always think, why do we need tropical rainforest? We live in cities and urban areas, and uh, why should we care about tropical rainforest? So the disease, so that is what I'm going to say about the human health impacts. So the diseases, so the habitat transformation and deforestation affect disease incidence and transmission. So that is a particular kind of disease where maybe it is a viral disease like spread by some insects or some um, um, mosquitoes or whichever kind of insects. When it changes the habitat, the transmission pattern changes, the incidence rate changes. That the more the number of people get affected. There are a lot of research nowadays going on in this area, because how human health, the tropical, even a special branch of research in this area, like a tropical medicinal biology or something like that. So for the typical example is our malaria. Everybody knows about malaria. So the malaria is like a contagious disease. It is spread like especially in cities. It's easily spread. It is there in our Kerala also. But the typical malaria mosquitoes, they are said to have evolved from the forest regions from in Latin American countries, so the nearby Latin American countries. So the people who were living there, they were less susceptible to this disease. Till now they are less susceptible to malaria. This is because when the mosquitoes change the habitat, the rate of transmission and the incidence rate has increased suddenly. One reason is, for example, when we are living in a city, there are like of course, if we are in Kochi or Trivandrum, we have got a lot of mosquitoes around. So what happens is there are no predators except human. There are no predators for mosquitoes. Only we kill mosquitoes. So what happens is because there are no predators, it keeps on increasing to a very high extent, and the spread is very high. Whereas in forest areas or forest nearby areas, there are many other kind of predators which will feed on mosquitoes, and also that the temperature. That's what they have mentioned in this paper published in 2009. The temperature also affects the spread of disease. So in that way, the habitat transformation and deforestation affect disease incidence as well as transmission. So that's another reason. Example is the Ebola virus disease, like what we have right now, the corona disease we had in Africa. That was even serious issue in 2 to 3 years before. So there was a study conducted in Central and West African regions. So when they tried to analyze the habitat of Ebola virus and how the spread patterns, so they were able to analyze that because of a recent deforestation events that happened in West Africa and Central Africa, this Ebola virus was closely associated, the infection and the transmission was closely affected, associated with the deforestation event. So when the deforestation event took place, at the same time the outbreak started, and they have analyzed. They have come to the conclusion that the outbreak of Ebola virus, outbreak of Ebola virus, the deforestation is also a factor. Not a major factor, but is also a factor. So that are some of the examples of how as a human being, as a our health is impacted by deforestation of tropical rainforest. So next is about the economic impacts. So economic impacts is like uh, we usually say a word called ecosystem services. So ecosystem in ecology. So ecosystem. So if there are no wild pollinators, wild insects which are pollinating, originating, then there won't be it will adversely affect the um, agriculture yield and productivity of the region. So that is how that is what a typical example of ecosystem service. So we will be able to calculate like how much the bees or honeybees or whichever type of bees are providing the statistics from the economy as well as ecology. These two are connected and studied. So that is also now recently studied topic, and a lot of research is going on in there. So they calculate like ecosystem service of. So if we can, so now we are able to calculate the ecosystem services of Western Ghats to Kerala. Like that we can calculate, and there will be a particular value for it. In that way, many different parameters may be there. The pollination may be there. Uh, Other many other kind of um, parameters may be there. So that's how economically so this tropical rainforest. If there are no tropical rainforests, then there won't be any wild insects. Then there won't be any pollination. Then if there is no pollination, the typical example is in Kerala we have got the cardamom cultivation. So cardamom cultivation is usually in regions of Idiki district. It happens usually in the region of Idiki district. So the cardamom cultivation basically needs pollinators. So these pollinators are highly associated with the agriculture region as well as the forest areas. So if there are no forests, then there won't be any pollinators for the cardamom continue. There won't be any bees visiting the flowers of the cardamom plantations, and there won't be any yield. So the yield will be indirectly less. So that is the importance of economic impact. So what, as in that paper, it is mentioned about 70% of leading global crops benefit from pollination. Like what example I said, the cardamom cultivation. And also, it is said that over 1/3 of the global food supply depends directly on animal pollinators. So these are some paper published in 2008 and 2013. And so the negative impact, that's what I said about the example of cardamom cultivation. So there are no wild insect pollinators. Then recently there was a study in Africa, like the pollinators are in cacao plantations. So near to the Congo basin there are tropical rainforests. So the lower zones is all converted into cocoa plantations. Cocoa plantations. Um, so cocoa also requires pollinators. So because of the degradation of this forest, there are no more pollinators, and this is typically affecting many of the poor African countries, especially when it is affecting the farmers, the cocoa plantations, and then it is actually affecting the economy of the country. So that is how the economically the tropical rainforest impact on our daily lives. Okay, so this was all about the economic impacts of tropical rainforests on different aspects uh, of life. Next, I'll just mention about some major research projects. It might be for somebody who's like interested in tropical rainforest research or something. Some major research projects happening. Some major research projects right now happening around the world. One or two I'll just mention. So this is like long-term surveillance programs. There are a lot of, not many are there, but so when we are studying, so the usual problem with the tropical rainforest or the ecology studies is it is very short term. So if you are doing a research, it will be just for 1 year or 2 year. I go there and do a survey and I come back. So then after maybe the research will end up there. Then after 10 years, someone else goes back and do another, in the same area, they do another survey. But the problem is that continuity is lost. So in order to remove this issue, there are like big projects, big programs going on around the world where they establish a permanent site and they develop plots there, and there is continuous studies going on there. So people from outside can go to that area and study. From around the world can come to that area and study, do any kind of analysis or ecological analysis and like that. So that's why they established long-term plots or long-term surveillance programs in tropical rainforest. So forest geo sites, that's one of the famous and biggest long-term forest establishment, plot establishment project that is done by Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute in Panama. So that is coordinated by Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute Panama. So the name is like forest geosites. So using this forest geo, that's Forest Global Earth Observatory. So they have established a series of network of long-term study plots around the world. Even I think we have one in India also, in Mudumalai forest area. We have it's not a bigger one, but it's a small area, but we have one 2.5 hectare plot is also there. Like that around the world, around the world. They coordinate the research, and they establish, maybe there might be a university associated with Mudumalai plot in Kerala or in Tamil Nadu, and they build up a network with other similar network of scientists, and so they can exchange the data. They can go there and study, or they can come here and study. So that we can study at the same time different habitats, different type, because we can compare the Amazon forest with the Western Ghats forest, or the Malaysian forest, tropical rainforest, or Indonesian, like that. So this is a series of network. So this is managed by Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute is one of the best tropical rainforest research institutes maybe in the world, I would say, because they are doing a lot of studies in it is located in Panama. Panama is a country in Middle America. I mean, Middle America. So they have established the first plot in among the forest geosites. So that was in the name of the island was Barrow, Colorado Island. So they first established a plot, the 50 hectare plot, and it is a permanent plot. So there is continuous surveillance going on there. Anybody, if somebody is interested to go and study there, we can go there for some analysis or something, because they already have an established set of data there, like which all trees are there, how it is the height of trees. Every 1 month they are calculating the height of trees, all kind of, not just trees, I'm saying all animals, whatever. The flora and fauna is analyzed every 1 month or every 3 months or something like that. So that's a kind of continuous studies. So that's what is about the forest geo. So actually there are 72 sites, established sites for forest geosites across the world. It is located in 27 countries and one is in India also. Mudumalai, it is located in Mudumalai Reserve Forest area. So the size is like the good thing is that the size is also very high, the 25 to 50 hectares. That's a considerably very large area when we compare, when we study an ecological plot, because usually we do for a 1 year research or 2 year research, we can't survey a 50 hectare plot. Um, it's a huge task. Nobody can do that. So these things we already have established plots with everything. So if we want to do some kind of analysis or some comparison, we can do that. So yeah, okay. So the diameter, all data is also available. So that is the website of that program, Forest Geo SI.edu. So if anybody is interested, they can just check with that. So there is one more thing, one more long-time surveillance program like Sabah Biodiversity Experiment, that is in Borneo in Indonesia. So this is very different from the other one. That is just a single biodiversity experiment, but it is a tropical biodiversity experiment. There are a lot of type of researches going on, but the basic thing is in 2001, what they have done is they have taken up a huge area, and that was actually a plantation. That was not an original forest. That was already laid down. Trees were already laid down plantations. They replanted it. So they replanted using the normal type of forest trees, tropical forest trees, and they started analyzing. So it's almost 18 years, and so now the forest trees have regrown into full extent, and scientists can now study how the regrown forest or secondary forest, what is that? The disturbed forest once again, when it reaches the maturity or 20 years or 30 years of age, we call it the secondary forest because it was already disturbed, but now it is changing into virgin forest. So that kind of analysis can be done in that experiment. So that is also a huge experiment done by many in collaboration with a huge number, Oxford University and many number of universities are there in collaboration. So it's also the same students can go there, and there's a permanent station there. They can go and study the different. They can survey themselves, or they can take up the data already available and study. So that's about Sabah biodiversity experiment. I will also given the link to that surveillance program. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. In India also we have got one. It is called as Indian Bioresource Information Network. But the work is actually now over. I was also part of that work. So this is actually a website where you can go inside and take up whichever, if you want to compare some species, if you want to know the a particular kind of species, you can type the type of species, whether it is plant species or animal species, whatever. You can type it, then you will get the complete detailed list of the place of occurrence, the map linked to it, the full list of data of that, the availability, the spread of the species, whichever areas, whether it is available in Idiki, whether or the tree is available in right now present in Trivandrum or wherever in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So this was part of like a huge project. Like they established different teams and they surveyed the Western Ghats by like it was a long survey for 10 years, and they divided into different groups and surveyed. It was a huge team. At the same time, we did it in Andaman Nicobar Islands. That also was also running for 5 years, and they compiled the data into this Indian Bioreserve Information Network, and now it is available online, I guess. And we have submitted that to the government of India for further. And I think now it's a government website. Earlier it was like a institute website, and we were working on it. Now it has gone into a government website, and if at all, if you need any details regarding a particular species, plant species or anything, you can check with that. So that's like www.ibin.gov.in. Yeah, okay. So that is all regarding the. I have I have shared some experiences with you. There are it's a very vast topic, so just took some very small details, some small things from and compiled it into a PPT. I hope it was okay for you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for giving such an informative session. Now I request participants to raise your queries through chat box. Sir, there is a question.
Okay.
In tropical rainforest, understory layer, there is not much vegetation like grasses or herbs. Is it because of lack of light or due to allelopathic effect?
I didn't hear the last word. The lack of light or
Allelopathic effect.
allelopathic. Okay. Allelopathic, allelopathic effect is completely on different context, I guess. Usually it is always because of the lack of less amount of light that is coming up from the canopy. The understory is very less. That is a usual reason for that. Allelopathy happens not with all trees. It is very specific for some, only for some species. You mean to say? Did you mean to say that the allelopathy usually happens with the main tree and the seedlings and small saplings, not with among two trees or two like that?
Okay, sir. Second one, how a layman could identify cloud forest from other forest types? Any easy identification tips?
Okay, I have given that shown in that photo itself. Like uh, if you are traveling somewhere up the hill and you are at the top of the hill and it is a cold climate, check for the trees, and if you find a lichens or moss, they will show my. I think I have already shown the image. There is a throughout the trunk of the tree there will be like a very thick moss and lichen presence, and it will be very green and if you touch it, it will be full of moisture and water. So that is typical, and the tree height will be very small, and the width of the tree, the bark will also be very small, it, unlike the typical huge trees in forest. That's how you identify it. But it's very rarely found around the world, and in India, I mean, in Western Ghats, or rather in India, I have seen, from what I know, I have seen it in Munnar area, top hill of Munnar, the area where exactly, if I say where the recent flood happened, Pettimudi. So I was there last year, and that area is full of above the place where this happened, just above that area is full of montane forest, I mean cloud forest, or rather in maybe in Trivandrum area, in Agastyagodam also in top most. That is in other. So that's what I said. It is like it is not that the topmost point of any it is just the topmost point of any hill, not that it should be a very high elevation. Because in Agastyagodam, I hope the elevation in Trivandrum, I hope the elevation goes around just 1,000. You can find montane forest around 1,400 meters. But in in the same way, The same montane forest you could find in Munnar only at like 2,300 or 2,200 meter. Okay, I hope it is clear.
Okay, yes, thank you. Third one, what percentage of rainforest exists or remains now in Kerala?
Oh, rainforest. I'm not particularly sure about the percentage anyway. I would just from what I'm not. I don't know about the exact figures or anything. From what I can say is like it is very less from what we see. That is all what we know. Much less because I last year I was fully surveying Idiki area and all or Trivandrum area. Trivandrum area it is much more rainforests are there, but in Idiki area because of land fragmentation now it's like if we go to survey we should search for some patches and it's all patchy. It's not continuous also, but I'm not sure about the percentage. Maybe I should find it out.
Okay, thank you, sir. Because of time limit, now we can move on to next section. I welcome our PG student, Srimati Malavika, to deliver vote of thanks.
A very good evening to all. Honorable Principal, Resource Person, guest teachers and dear participants. I feel so proud to propose vote of thanks on this international webinar on significance of tropical rainforests in an era of climate change, organized by PG Department of Botany, SVRNSS College in collaboration with IQAC. I would like to express my gratitude to our beloved principal, Dr. Renuka Emma, for delivering the presidential remark and being our backbone and constantly motivating and inspiring us to conduct this webinar. It's been fascinating and very engaging last 1 hour of this webinar with our eminent resource person, Mr. Thomas Kalathil Varghese, research scholar, Animal Ecology and Tropical Biology Biocenter-Am, Hubland, University of Wurzburg. Sir, on the behalf of PG Department of Botany, SVRNSS College, I am expressing the sincere gratitude for sharing such valuable information about the tropical rainforest and its significance, and for spending your valuable schedule and most valuable time with us. Sir, the whole session is very interesting. Thank you so much for your effort. Thank you so much, sir. Behind every successful program, there will be one person whose dedication and hard work lie the manifold attempts. Yes, none other than one, our HOD, Head of the Department of Botany, Jacob sir. I take this opportunity to express my deep sense of gratitude to you, sir. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the immense contribution of the dedicated faculty members, Rajesh sir, Shruti miss, Preeta miss, for their constant commitment and help. I would also like to thank our technical support team, Shri Babin sir, Department of Mathematics, and Srimati Remya miss, Department of Physics, for their restless efforts. Last but not the least, I express my sincere gratitude to all our invited guests and participants who choose to attend this webinar with great enthusiasm and made this webinar a great success. Once again, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Malavika. The participants are requested to submit feedback to get the certificate.